What about the time? Because there are countries they've got challenges also in terms of perhaps going after these people. Different methods may also apply in different circumstances. But in this case, we're looking at it from a different perspective in this country. Yes, the governments have got different policies and how they intend to attack them. But cooperation between countries now, how did it work for America in terms of working with your allies and the role that played?
Well, of course, the president and even President Obama, even if you look at when we make a decision to go into a place like Libya, you have to work with your European allies. It starts with your allies. And because it's typical that the Chinese and the Russians will vote against us in the UN Security Council. We expect that. And it's no different than I don't know if you saw the report this week about the United States wants to up the ante on Syria. And the Russians and the Chinese said this week that they've been punished enough. There's nothing else that we need to do. And so you need that balance. But in terms of the United States moving forward and forging ahead in terms of whether they want to declare war, if they want to become more aggressive, their strength lies in the Europeans, not necessarily in the Russians and the Chinese. But diplomacy is important because you know what? Whether it's the leader of the Soviet Union or anywhere else, these leaders have relationships. And the Soviets have very close relationships with the Middle East. They have very close relationships with Iran and Syria, the kind of relationships that we don't have. And if they can go in and sort of get them to back down on building the nuclear reactors, get them to stop the violence against their own people, that process worked, then that process should be in place.
Well, I wanted us to look at, North Africa, specifically Libya, look at what has just gone down there. The fear of having some of these bad guys live in Libya, for instance, getting into other countries, maybe in Europe and as well as maybe Africa, not even Nigeria. Now, how well, now you talk about borders, and if you talk about border patrol, well, it was fantastic in Israel. But again, what can we learn from the Israeli security situation and put around our own borders so that some of these bad guys cannot even leave Libya and get into our midst?
I want to take your conversation someplace else. One of the criticisms that I would have for the French and the Italians and the Americans is that you can look at the Libyan situation and you will see that situation in Syria, you will see it in Iran, you will see it in Saudi Arabia. One of the questions that we ask in our country, who gets to pick the winners and the losers? Who gets to pick which government you decide to take out and overthrow, and who gets to survive? And from our perspective, and especially mine, we have no business in toppling a sovereign regime. If the people are not satisfied with their leadership, then let the people deal with that. We have no right to spray missiles and bombs over the Libya because the very people that you're trying to take out are the people that will be protected the most, and it's innocent people that die. And I don't think us being in Libya had anything to do with terrorism. I think it had to do with the fact that the French and Sarkozy wanted to control the percentage of that oil reserve that's in Libya. So we're not talking about terrorism when it comes to Libya. No matter what your issue may be with Gaddafi, he's a sovereign leader, and to go in and to just decide unilaterally, in the beginning it was led by the United States, but it became so controversial for President Barack Obama, he decided to back off and take a back seat and allow the Europeans to lead, and the UN to lead the mission into Libya.
What if 9/11 didn't happen? Supposing 9/11 never happened, what would have been the state of security?
I can't.
And indeed around the world, not just in the U.S.
I can't answer that. 9/11 did happen. And Nigerians died as a result of it. And Americans died. And people all around the world. I don't answer questions like that. Because that question to me makes no sense. It happened. The world has changed. And it will never be the same.
In other words, for the average man on the street out there who, of course, has got to know that, well, this is here with us, what kind of approach should he have on a daily basis?
They should take it more serious than anyone else, because what happens is when these terrorists want to attack, it's not the leadership that they take issue with that they want to destroy. They want to find masses of innocent people who really has nothing to do with the policies of its nation. They want to find masses of them and just annihilate them, kill them for no reason at all. So it's for them that for the remain forever vigilant and to keep a watchful eye and a listening ear, because they pay the brunt of these terrorists, their hatred and their disdain for these leaders. Absolutely. Because you didn't hear about George Bush or his cabinet or any high-profile figure died in 9/11. In fact, these people are almost nameless until we began to research their stories and their families and found out they're just everyday people, like the people that you see in Nigeria. It's the innocent that die, not the elite. So for no other reason, they should remain vigilant, because they have more at stake than anybody else.